off in the distance somewhere. All right, there it is. That's where I will catch it. There we go. There we go. Looking good. Okay, perfect. Okay, what's up, guys? It's your man Donovan Sharpe, and welcome to this. I guess special. So what? A couple of housekeeping to do here before I get to the full debate between myself and Kevin Ray Wilder. I have submitted a retraction claim. I have submitted my retraction claim, my retraction claim of my copyright infringement against Guste Janis. The reason I did this is because she emailed my assistant and asked her to. She said I would appreciate it if Mr. Sharpe would retract the copyright infringement request. I told her that all she had to do was ask and that I would do it, and I did it. I also made it very clear. I told Heather to make sure Guste understands that, listen, she can continue the same rhetoric. If she wants to continue dogging me, call him names, that's all fine. Like, I'm not really worried about that stuff. A lot of people would say, well, why would you give her permission? Listen, guys, again, it's a free country. She can have an opinion. She can say whatever she wants. Now, she can certainly be wrong, but hey, listen, man, I'm a man of my word. I said, if Kevin Ray Wilder proves that I am a misogynist, then I will retract the copyright infringement claim. He didn't, but I also said all Guste has to do is ask me to retract it, and I'm good to go. So Guste, you have my permission. Hold on. You have my verbal permission. Going forward, you can use all my content, do whatever you want to do, call me names, whatever. I'm not really too worried about that. I am simply removing the copyright infringement claim because I told you I would if you asked, and you did. So just to get that out of the way. So to the debate. So I got to tell you guys, I was pleasantly surprised by the debate. I was pleasantly surprised, even though Kevin and I still vehemently disagree on pretty much all of the fundamentals. It was a good, solid discussion between men. We never got loud. Things never got contentious. He made his, he made his points. I made mine. We did it respectfully. And in the end, I think we gained a mutual respect for one another. I still disagree with some of his fundamentals. He still disagrees with some of mine, but we got together, we talked it out. There was no cooking, there was no frying, there was no roasting. Yeah, there were some back and forths. There were some things that I quizzed him on. There were some things that he quizzed me on. It was a good, brisk, healthy discussion. And I think it turned out well. Hopefully he learned something. I know I learned a little something. I'm not going to sit here and say that I know it all. This doesn't change my views on anything. I think you guys will easily and certainly see that. But listen, Kevin, he represented himself well. I got to tell you, I did not expect him. I did not expect him to actually debate. I thought that he was going to chicken out. He did not. I also thought that if he came on, he would try to pull a stunt. He didn't do that either. He came prepared. He made his points. He was respectful. He didn't back down. Neither did I. And it ended up being a good, hearty, brisk discussion. And hopefully you guys can learn something from this. So listen. I may still have some fundamental disagreements with Kevin Ray Wilder and his ilk, but he has my respect. It takes a lot of balls. It takes a lot of guts to step into the lion's den with the likes of me. But he did so. He did so very well. He was not intimidated. We had a nice back and forth, and he held his own. So he's got my respect for that. So I've got his YouTube links as well as Instagram links in the description if you want to subscribe to this guy. If you follow him on Instagram. And again, the no trolling, no bullying. Don't go over there and harass him. If you have strong opinions about something, you're more than welcome to express those. But I will not tolerate harassment or trolling, calling names, things of that nature. Again, that is not what we do here. That's not how we do things here. The same goes for Guste Janis. Her and I have some very strong fundamental disagreements. We are diametrically opposed on pretty much everything. Don't troll her. Don't harass her. That's not what this community is about. So, without further ado, this is the full uncut. Didn't have to edit anything out. This is just, straight through. This is the debate between myself and Kevin Ray Wilder that happened on Sharpe Stream. Enjoy, guys.
You're great, Donovan. How are you, man?
Doing good. Let's get right to it, man. I'll give you the floor.
Cool, right on. Do you mind if I give myself a quick little intro and my intention for doing all this? Is that cool?
No, not at all. Go ahead. Cool,
right on. Well, first of all, I want to really thank you for preempting this, saying like, hey, don't disrespect me or Guste. I really, really do appreciate that. Yep. As well as, you brought up as well, okay, well, let's not bring Guste into this. This is purely just about my claim that I believe that you're a misogynist, which I understand sounds like a very, very harsh critique, right? But I'm going to dive into that relatively quickly in terms of what I actually mean by that. All right. So I want to give a quick introduction again of myself. I'm actually from Philly, like you are. So it's pretty cool, that's about it. I'm also an admin for a account called Red Pill Advice. And so I'm part of the Manosphere. I'm part of Red Pill as well. Maybe some of your followers follow it. I'm the main content curator on there. Has 12,000 subscribers. So I think it's really important, when I think about the Red Pill, to just make sure we have open discussion and debate. Unfortunately, I challenged Rolo and Myron to a debate. Myron never responded because, whatever. Rolo declined. So I'm really happy that, we can have this conversation here.
Okay.
So. Cool. Right on, man. All right, so let's just get right into it. I think it's going to be really important, first of all, for us to define what misogynist means, right? Because I was very clear in my original video saying, okay, well, I'm very careful with describing somebody with that word. So I want to make sure that our definitions align before we really get into it. So you brought up a definition on your stream, I believe 2 days ago, on Merriam-Webster's dictionary. So I'd like to go off of that definition. Do you want to bring that up, or is there a way for me to bring that up? Or
I think hang on a second. I think the Merriam-Webster's definition. Give me a second. Merriam-Webster dictionary, misogyny definition. All right. So I can't bring it up right now, but I can. I'll read it. So definition of. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. So the definition of misogyny, according to Merriam-Webster, the hatred of, aversion to, or prejudice against women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's a few other definitions as well. If you don't mind, Donovan, I want to... I just posted something on my Instagram, and you can check it first before you want to put it on. Don't worry, I'm not going to do any weird stuff. But I made a short little video just kind of explaining what misogyny is. I think it should have posted. I wanted to post it here. Sorry for the delay, folks, if that's the case. Again, I think it's really important that we define terms first. Okay. So I actually have, because I think, again, it's really important for us to have the definitions right. So in this video, Myron actually explains misogyny because he explains that all the time on his show, as well as I put the dictionary definitions on there as well. So would you mind bringing that up if that's cool? Just really quickly. It's like a 20-second video.
I can't bring it up right now, but actually, hold on. You know what? I might actually be able to do that. Hold on. Let me go to your Instagram.
Okay, cool. Appreciate it, man.
Kevin Ray. Oh, there we are. Right there. And you just brought this up on Instagram, you said?
Oh, yeah, I just posted it like 1 second ago.
Okay, I got you. I think the sound will come through. Hang on a second.
And or
there we go.
Yeah, no worries.
Start that. I'm gonna start that again. Start that again.
Doesn't that mean?
Okay, misogyny is the hatred or contempt or prejudice of women.
Yeah, there you go.
So how are we being prejudiced and or hating women? Please tell us.
For one thing, you said that you don't eat pussy, and I was just like, what is that? First of all, because you want your dick sucked, and then you're not.
Oh, and then you brought up the...
and then I just have, like, screenshots there,
okay,
yeah.
aversion to... Okay, the culture that... Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Doesn't that mean...
Okay, misogyny is the hatred...
Now it's just replaying at this point, yeah.
All right.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that you're okay with those definitions.
Yeah, I'm good with that. That's fine.
Okay, cool. Right on. So the main thing that I want to focus on with you, Donovan, is more specifically the prejudice part, especially discrimination as well. I think that's really important because sometimes what ends up happening is people automatically think, all right, well, misogynists are just simply women haters and that's it. The issue is that's actually kind of tricky because you can't actually prove hatred, right? It's a very nebulous term. You can't prove hate. Similarly, you can't prove like love, right? But what you can prove is certain actions and the predictability of those said actions happening in the future, right? So that's really what my thing is about. And more specifically, three phrases, I should say, that you talked about on one of your, in my initial video at the end of it with the whole Gusta thing, right? In my initial video, I said I had three different phrases of yours that I had a big problem with. More specifically, one, women cheat, men have sex. Two, women are incapable of leadership. And then three, women need to be protected from themselves. And then you did a stream later on, basically, saying like, yeah, I don't see any kind of problem with that. Is that correct? I just want to make sure that.
Yep, that's
okay,
correct.
Cool. So here's the issue with that, because what ends up happening is with those things, you don't necessarily need to have any sort of hatred there. Again, I can't prove that you have hatred toward women or anything like that. I'm not making those claims. I'm making a claim that you're a misogynist, which is different. Again, it's more specifically, I could prove it through the prejudicial and discriminatory aspect. All right. So the issue is let's take this one by one. All right. So let's actually start with the second one. Women are incapable of leadership. That's an absolute blanket black and white statement that unfortunately robs the woman of her individual autonomy, and therefore it makes it prejudicial or discriminatory by nature. It would be different if you said it, women tend to not be capable of leadership. But when you say women are incapable of leadership, and especially because you say in your show as well, like, oh, well, this is how women are, right? It's part of female nature to not be able to be capable of leadership. So that would fall under the category of prejudice or discrimination. And if we want to be really concise with those terms as well, we can bring up those terms as well to make sure that we're being...
No, it's no problem. I think we both understand what that means.
Okay. So yeah, that's my fundamental kind of assertion there first. So I'll let you kind of rebut that if you'd like.
Okay, yeah. So women are incapable of leadership. For every Margaret Thatcher, one of the greatest women in history, there are, Jesus, I don't even know what the ratio is. There are not that many Margaret Thatchers. There are not that many Madame Curies. There are not that many successful female leaders. Now, when I say that women are simply incapable of leading, and a common trope in this community is that all women are like that. And what our detractors like to say is that, well, have you dated every single woman? Is every single woman like that? Well, no. But what people need to understand is that in order to get the message across, sometimes you do have to speak in broad terms. And I'll tell you this, the reason why we speak in broad terms, is because it is a broad term. Most women are not capable of effective leadership. And I guess I should have added effective leadership, because are women capable of leading? Sure. Anybody's capable of anything. Can a woman deadlift 435 pounds? Sure, she can try. Doesn't mean she's going to succeed. They did a long time ago, and there have been so many experiments done, and I'm not really a statistics guy. But there was an all-female business that opened, and I forget where it was and I forget when it was, but it was nothing but females from top to bottom. The company went bankrupt in, 2 or 3 years, quite simply because women do not have what it takes to lead effectively. Now, in the black community, specifically, that is a matriarchy. The black community is a matriarchy. What this means is that the black community is run by women. Most black people are raised by black women. And to that end, this explains clearly why black people get emotional every time something happens they feel or that is an injustice. That is a female response. Well, when you get people who are raised by females, you get people who act like females. And guess what? I'm not immune to that. I was raised essentially by a single mother, and this is exactly why up until recently I was always very quick to emotion. But I grew up, I contacted the right people, I did what I had to do, and now I'm a little bit more emotionally mature. So for a man to simply, and again, this is not an opinion, this is a fact. Women are not, I don't want to qualify it because I said what I said. But I think what you have to understand is that sometimes there has to be nuance in there somewhere. Well, guess what? I don't know that you realize this, Kevin, but nuance in terms of entertainment value and driving the point home, nuance doesn't cut it. In order to get eyeballs, you have to make blanket black and white statements. And I will say this, not everything is black and white, but not everything is gray area either. There are certain absolutes, biological absolutes, that are irrefutable. Men are better leaders than women. Look at the boys and girls raised by single mothers. They're absolute fucking disasters. Boys are either homosexuals, criminals, or criminal homosexuals. It never works out. It very rarely works out for them, or they end up hot-headed like me, 4-time convicted felon, been arrested over 24 times, right? Now, that's not because of my mom. I made those decisions, but that is how I was heavily influenced. Girls raised by single mothers, they end up on the pills, the pole, or both. They lead very promiscuous lifestyles. When you put women in charge of anything, if you put them in control of anything, they destroy it. Case in point, their children. I just made that point. Point number 2, the dating market. The dating market is unregulated. Why? Because women are in charge of the dating market. Women decide who gets to have sex, who gets to have babies, and who doesn't. That's why the dating market is a shit show, because it is run by women. And finally, which goes to, I guess, the third statement I made, women are in charge of themselves. This is why they're destroying themselves. I don't know that there's a female under the age of 21 in the United States, or over the age of 21 in the United States, that's a virgin. The reason for this is because women are self-destructive by nature, and to that end, they do not make very good leaders. Even women would admit that women don't make good leaders. I will tell you this, I think women make better detectives, and I think they make better divorce attorneys. But neither one of those occupations, that's not in a leadership role. So I stand 100% behind saying, listen, man, and here's the thing, just because I assert that women don't make great leaders, that doesn't mean that I'm prejudiced against them. This is a fact. Women don't make, they do not lead as effectively as men. We have eons of proof. Jesus, I mean, I can't even get into it. Women trust men more than women trust women, and I'll leave it there.
Okay, so I agree with you in general for sure, because leading is such a testosteronized type activity, right?
Right.
And for sure, you need to have that masculine dominance. Like there's studies that show that, for example, I think like 90% of CEOs in the U.S. are like over 6 feet tall or something. So that definitely, having that masculine presence definitely helps. Again, really the issue that I have is if you make that distinction of, okay, tend to, then I'm okay. It's when you make that blanket statement that things can become dangerous. And to your point of saying where it's not prejudice, well, the issue is prejudice, the root word of it is basically prejudge, right? That's the kind of etymology of it. So you're by definition prejudiced against somebody when you prejudge them before you even get to know them. And more specifically, you can prejudge them if it's based off of facts and evidence, right? But there's a lot of assertions that you had there where the burden of proof is on you to prove a bunch of these different things.
Like what?
Right? I mean, there's so many different things that you just said there.
Well, let's stick with the main point is that women don't lead as well as men. That's I mean, look around, dude. Kevin, look around, man. I mean, you can. And again, I gave you all the evidence you need just on a social level. Listen, are there female CEOs that are successful? Absolutely. Are there female leaders who are effective leaders? Sure. They are the exception to the rule, Kevin. They are the statistical anomaly. Most women, the vast majority of women, cannot lead as effectively as men. That's not an opinion, that's a fact, and it is reflected in our decisions as men and women every day.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that you are making the distinction then that it's most women are incapable of leadership, not all.
Yes.
Okay, cool. That's all I wanted. So that's good to know. And again, I'm coming on here because again, I want to really figure out if my actual beliefs of who you are correct or not. And like I said in the video, if I end up changing my mind on it, I'll be the first one to tell you. So I'm glad that we crossed that off. Okay. So here's the other one. Then let's revert back to the first one. Women cheat, men have sex. Mm-hmm. I actually made a video, reaction video to an Instagram story that you had about this a few months ago, and that is something that it's interesting because I understand where you're coming from with that, because yes, of course, when a woman cheats in general, that's a way bigger deal than if a man cheats, right? Because if a man cheats, like, hey man, you might just be fucking horny and then you just want to go have sex, right? But if you're a woman, it's not just that carnal physical desire and that's it. Like, usually it takes a lot for a woman to like receive a man into her, right? So Absolutely. She really needs to be like, all right, well, I'm with you and I don't respect you anymore, and I'd rather have, Chad Rohn over here fuck me instead. So obviously, in general, when women cheat, it's a way bigger deal. And I'm sure, you and I probably don't have statistics on this, but we still agree with this. It's like, look, if a woman cheats, the relationship is way more in danger. If a man cheats, not necessarily, right? So I totally agree with that. The issue is I don't think what makes cheating wrong or right is just based on that. I think the issue is you have a certain contract that you create with another person, right? Where you say, okay, we're in a monogamous relationship, and if you guys have the terms set, we're like, hey, I'm not going to cheat on you, you're not going to cheat on me. Then at that point, because you have that that binding contract within between one another, at that point when you break it, it's still just as bad for each party because you're breaking the deal. It's like a business deal, right? You have a contract in paper, and if either one of you violates it, then that's, the severity of it's equal on both sides because you. Mm-hmm. Can you say that again? I didn't hear you.
If one party breaches, one party can sue the other for breach of contract. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So that's my issue with that then. It's like, okay, well, when you say women cheat, men have sex, I don't really understand that. If you agree with that, doesn't that kind of debunk that point?
No. And I think, it's very interesting. So I've been on both sides of cheating. I've been cheated on and I have been cheated with. And again, nobody has these statistics, but every time I got caught cheating, the first question that my girlfriend or whoever I'm fucking asks me, do you love her? Right? If I tell her no, that doesn't mean she's any less hurt, but she's going to stay around. Okay. And Jesus Christ, I don't even know. I don't even know what the stat is here, but every time I've been caught cheating, or most times I've been caught cheating, the girl hangs on for a little while longer. And the reason she does this is because she understands that stepping out for a man, it's just sex. And I'll go back to something you said. When women cheat, very few women cheat just impulsively. If a woman cheats, it has been long planned. She's flirted with the guy, she's making plans, she's getting emotionally connected. When a man steps out on his woman, it's just at random. If I'm in Pick a City, USA, and a hot big-titted blonde makes a pass at me, and I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it. That's just the male sex drive. But let's go a little bit deeper and a little bit more biological, because I think that this will help. I think this will help everyone understand. And again, this isn't to say that if a man steps out on his woman, it does not hurt her. Oh, believe you me, it absolutely does, and I've been on the receiving end of that pain. But when it comes to sexual intercourse, women have a lot more at stake than men do biologically. And of course, birth control notwithstanding, right? We're assuming, birth control or not. When a woman has sex, she could get pregnant. And her biological hard drive in the background is saying, okay, I could have sex, but I could get pregnant. So if I'm if I'm going to bring a child into this world, I'm going to make sure that I bring a child into this world with the best physical male specimen possible. And this is why they like the Chads and the Tyrones, or the Chadrones, like you said earlier. But even when a woman is on birth control, that doesn't automatically shut off her discrimination. No, women still want to mate with, even if there's no baby involved, even if they don't want to have kids, their hard drive is still in the background. This is why women like to have sex with attractive men. It's because of their biology. So I said that to say this: women risk a lot more. If she does get pregnant, Now she's off the shelf for 9 months, and after she has the kid, now she's got to work off the baby fat, whatever the case may be. There is little to no investment for a man when we have sex, okay? We hit it, and then that's it. Even if she gets pregnant, the physical toll we pay is nothing. So the bottom line here is that eggs are expensive, sperm is cheap. And the reason, this is the reason why girls are so much more discriminatory about the men they have sex with than we are. And listen, man, like with women have an attraction floor. Okay, there is a certain type, money, height, whatever. There is a floor they will not go under. Men, we don't really have an attraction floor. And if we do, it's a hell of a lot lower than the females. Why? Because we have sperm is cheap, eggs are expensive. And when something is cheap, it's going to make itself available all the time. So when I say men have sex and women cheat, it's a biological thing, because when a woman allows a man into her body, just like you said before, dude, that party is over with. So I guess the grand point is this. When a man and a woman get together romantically, there's an unspoken agreement that states that in exchange for her sexual exclusivity, I will then share my resources with you. And the reason we know this to be true is because women will fuck guys with no money. They're not going to commit to them, at least not when they're in their sexual prime. If they're in their sexual prime, they don't care if the guy's broke. But all of a sudden, when time gets wasted and they have to lock down a guy, okay, now he's got to have resources. All things being equal in terms of resources versus sex, he wants exclusive access to her body. She wants exclusive access to his resources. But now she wants exclusive access to his body? No. What can you bring me, ladies, that you haven't given to another man? You can give me exclusive access to your body. That's kind of a half one. But if I'm giving you exclusive access to my resources, that's how I show fidelity. Women show fidelity. Women show commitment through sexual fidelity. Men, we show commitment through provisioning. Cheating for a man would be having a girlfriend or a wife and having another family. This is exactly why. Every time you step out on a girl, she asks, do you love her? And I'll tell you a quick story. You may have heard me tell this before. Peter Sellers, world famous British actor, died of a massive heart attack at 54. He was the guy who played Agent Jacques Clouseau on the Pink Panther series. He was an incorrigible womanizer. His first wife, I think he was married to for 12 years. He cheated on her with impunity. After 12 years, he finally said, that's it, I'm done. All right. Well, Peter Sellers went off and got married and kept his womanizing. At 54, he dies of a massive heart attack. The one picture they found in this man's wallet was of his first wife. If I go out and I have sex with another girl, that doesn't mean that I love Devin any less. I love Devin very, very much, but it has absolutely nothing to do. Like, I can go out and fuck 10 other bitches. Devin is the main one. Now, if I were to go off and buy another bitch a car or share my resources with them, now there's a problem. That's why when a man says, hey, I knocked my side bitch up, they're like, well, wait a minute, that's hurting my bottom line. So the reason why women have a problem with a man cheating, don't get me wrong, it hurts them that he stuck his dick in another chick. But the first thing on their mind is, does he love her? Because if he loves her, now the resources are going from me to her. Number two, if he knocks her up, his bottom line is compromised for the next 18 years. Again, this isn't to say that women aren't hurt when their men step out on them. But this is exactly the reason why women who belong to high-value guys, as long as they don't see it, don't catch any diseases, as long as he doesn't get her pregnant, she can live with the fact, listen, what I don't know can't hurt me. It's not the same with guys.
Okay, so the issue that I have with that is the term itself, right? Women cheat, men have sex. What's implied there is there's a value judgment there saying, okay, if a guy cheats, it's not that big of a deal. If a woman cheats, it's a huge deal. Again, if we're talking just from a biological standpoint, yeah, I agree with you. I made that assertion at the very beginning. The issue is when you make a certain contract already and a promise to one another, right? Where you say, okay, I'm not going to cheat on you. You're not going to cheat on me. We're in a monogamous relationship with another. When you break that contract, that's equally bad on both sides. And another thing, yeah. So again, I mean, that's really my
agree
main
with. Now, here's the thing.
That.
I will agree with you there, especially when a man and a woman get married. If he steps out on her, oh my God, the contract is breached. But guess what, Kevin? When a woman cheats on a man, that relationship is over. She ends it or he ends it. when a man steps out on his woman, most of the time they stay with their men because they know biologically there is no feeling. And here's something I teach my guys. Listen, I love my girl to the moon and back, but I have not promised her monogamy. I haven't promised that to her. And now this is where I will agree with you. You can't be a man in this day and age and be dishonest with a woman. If a woman says, listen, I want to be your girlfriend, but I want you to be monogamous. Hey, listen, I can't promise anything. Are you saying that you would cheat? Listen, all I'm saying is that I cannot promise you monogamy. Again, we as men, we bring the resources. The woman brings the exclusive access to her body. To expect a man who's bringing resources to always to also bring. So you want exclusive access to my resources and my body. What's the second thing you're going to offer me? Crickets, right? So I'll give you a choice. You give me exclusive access to your body, and I'll give you exclusive access to my resources. If you can offer me something that you have never given to another man, then I might think about giving you exclusive access to my body. But 99.9% of women don't have that curveball. They got the fastball, they got the one, they don't have that curveball or changeup, which is exactly why when a man steps out on a woman, she's like, okay, this sucks and it hurts. I don't have any diseases. He's not fucking her at my house and he's not knocking her up. I'm okay with that. Now, does that make it okay for a man to step out on his woman? That's not for me to decide. To me, that's not really a moral thing. And I agree with you. If a man enters into a contract, hey, I'm going to be monogamous, you're going to be monogamous. If he steps out, that's wrong. But this is why I teach, don't make any promises to any woman. One thing that I've promised Devin, I said, listen, you take care of me, I'm going to take care of you. I never, ever, ever promise monogamy. Now, if she wants monogamy and I tell her no, then she can get the step in. But so far, we haven't had any problems with that.
Okay. No, that's actually great to hear because, again, I wasn't aware that was your stance because, no, I totally agree with that.
Makes sense.
Because what my rebuttal would have been, assuming that you thought that it was, okay or not, is to just, but exactly what you said, just don't even make that promise in the first place because that really only becomes morally ambiguous. I would reckon to say morally bad if you make a promise and then you break it, right? And then of course if you have kids involved and all those types of things. Yeah. So so that's good to hear, man. So those are the
guys,
main.
Like sex is not that big a deal for guys, right? The more sex a man has, I'll put it to you this way. Men, we are able to compartmentalize sex from love and relationships, but not in the beginning, right? Like, the first time I ever had sex, the girl's name was Allison Cook, okay? I was 15 years old, she was 15, I was in love, right? Well, the next girl I had sex with, I can't mention her name because she's on TV now. The third girl I had sex with she was my high school sweetheart. The more women I had sex with, the more I was able to compartmentalize sex from love until, listen, I could smash a woman and not have any feelings for her. Women can get to the point to where they can compartmentalize sex from feelings, but it takes them a lot longer, if ever. Sex is so much more emotional for women. That's why it means more to them. But the women who understand, okay, it sucks that Donovan stepped out on me, but listen, he sleeps with me at night. He buys me Coach bags. He takes care of me. He takes me on trips. I'll swallow my tears, and until I feel like it's not worth it, I'm going to stick around. I don't think it's a moral thing at all. I think it's just people accepting the way things are. Okay,
so again, because you and I basically kind of agree with these things. If there's like a contract and whatnot, then that's and you've breached that contract, then you're in the wrong, regardless if you're a man or a woman. Yeah. I'm glad that you have that perspective, but when I watch your content, I don't get that at all. That's why I'm kind of shocked actually that you believe these things. I mean, are you willing to start saying that and making those exceptions when you talk about these certain platitudes here? Because I understand you said before, right? People want like catchphrases and whatnot. Like women cheat, men have sex. It's kind of catchy, right? Yeah. But you could understand how under the wrong context, somebody could actually take that verbiage and use it as justification for cheating on their wives.
The thing is this, I've talked about this ad nauseum, and I've done thousands of videos. If somebody goes on DonovanSharpe.com and says women cheat, men have sex, they need to go and watch, the other videos. I have always taught men, if a woman earns your commitment, she has earned a right to your time. She's earned a right to your energy. She has earned a right to your resources. Devin gets my time. She definitely gets my time because I don't go anywhere. She gets my energy and she gets my resources. As far as monogamy is concerned, that's not something I've promised to her. If I'm in another city and I have a chance to smash somebody, if I've got the energy, I would do it. But listen, and here's the thing. Just because that's not written in our unwritten contract, that doesn't mean that she won't just up and leave. But again, it's, and I understand what you're saying, because that really is a good point. If it's agreed upon that both people are going to be monogamous, then both people should be monogamous. But women know, even like women who are married, let's just go extreme. Women who are married to professional athletes or entertainers, okay, till death do us part, I'll be faithful, blah, 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 blah. Dude, you think, honestly, Amber Rose used to be married to Wiz Khalifa. You don't think Amber Rose knew Wiz Khalifa was smashing other broads? Of course she did, but she stayed with him anyway, because women know that sex is just an action for men. For women, sex it's not just an action. It is an emotional connection. Now, if she smashes enough dudes like into the, I don't know, quadruple figures, then yeah, then it becomes a little bit numb. But the vast majority of women aren't really made that way. Yes, women have sex with a lot of men, but sex is still emotional. By the same token, women do, and you want to know why women understand that sex is just sex for men? Because they've had one night stands with men. They've had situationships, and they had feelings for the guy, and he just goes, she's like, how in the world can he just ghost me? At some point they realize, you know what? It was really just sex for him. So when they get with a guy who has experience with women and he steps out on her, it doesn't hurt any less, but she's like, you know what? I understand. He told me he doesn't love the side chick. I was the side chick at one point, and he didn't love me either.
Yeah. So again, I agree with a lot of what you said there. The issue is that these platitudes are when you look at them just on the surface, and especially unless you give the context to them as well. Well, they are basically by definition prejudicial, because again, it says, okay, well, we're holding women to a different standard than men. And that's the issue that I have with that, right? And because of that, the term itself, right, unless they have that long explanation as well that you just gave, the term itself, when left up to its own, that's going to have an implication of prejudice to it. That's why I call, so those terms specifically, right?
Sure.
Again, unless you actually because look, you could easily, they're short terms, you could easily say, instead of women cheat, men have sex, you could easily say, when women cheat, it tends to be worse than when men cheat, or something like that, right? Or instead of saying women are incapable of leadership, you could be like, women tend to not be fulfilled in leadership positions, or something like that. So why not change it to those terms? That's the issue I have, because those terms themselves. That's not what I believe.
No, that's not what I believe. Women are not good. Women are not as good leaders as men. Are there good female leaders around the world? Sure, but
hold on, Donovan. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but it's really important, because I said women are incapable, right? Mm-hmm. And you've said that before on your stream as well. It's different to say incapable compared to like tend not to be. Those are two very different things, because incapable implies that by your very nature of being a woman, you don't have what it takes to be a leader because you are a woman, right? And that could be the case for most times, especially because, look, it's a marketplace, right? It's economics, right?
Sure.
Like, there's going to be supply and demand. It's like, okay, if you have a supply of all these people who have, more what it takes to be a leader, like more testosterone, whatever, right? But there's still going to be some women as well that have higher levels of testosterone. Whatever the it factor is to be a leader, they have it. Like you mentioned before with like Margaret Thatcher. The issue is when you have a platitude like that. Mm-hmm. So let's say, for example, right? I don't know. I'm not going to get too philosophical here, but if you know Immanuel Kant's categorical imperative, more specifically the formula of humanity, it goes something along the lines of like, all right, so if this one thing was a maxim for the whole world, you want to judge it based on that. And so if you go based off of that, and you say, okay, well, if everybody had that maxim, if it was a maxim for the entire world of women are incapable of leadership, what would that look like? Well, there's always going to be some outliers. Let's say it's even like, 20% of women are actually capable of leadership. Automatically, those women are not going to be able to fulfill their innate desire to lead because they're put in a society that they can't do that. So when you make statements like that, whether you know it or not, like it depends a lot with how big your audience is, people can take that the wrong way. People can use that as justification as to not let women be in leadership positions.
I'll put it to you this way. That's a very good point, but I'll make this very simple for you. Men, we make judgments and statements based on probability. Okay? Women make judgments and statements based on possibilities. And as we all know, probabilities are far more likely to happen than possibilities. So, you take a group of women. Take a group of women. Is it possible that there are a few women in there who could be good leaders? Sure. Probably not, right? The probability of finding a great woman leader or two in a group of women, that is far less likely than you'll find more in a group of men. So while I understand what you're saying, the argument that you're making is, okay, there are outliers. And you're right, there are outliers. But Kevin, I don't teach men to look for the outliers. I teach men, again, based on the probability. I don't know if you're familiar. Well, I don't want to bring sports into it with baseball, but what I teach men to do is I prepare men to deal with 99.9% of women they're probably going to encounter. Most American women are promiscuous. Most of them have feminist beliefs, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I could be like a Matthew Hussey or a Derek Jackson or a Jason Silver saying, hey, you know what? You need to be ready for that 0.01%. Are there women out there of good quality? Sure. I'm sure they exist. But again, I deal in probability, not possibilities. And this is why women are led astray all the time. I'm going to be a great leader in this and that and the other. Sweetheart, you're a woman. You're probably not going to be a great leader. And unfortunately, they find out the hard way. Same thing with a guy. He probably has a little bit more in terms of the raw leadership skills. The bottom line here, Kevin, is that men make better leaders than women. That's all there is to it. I deal in probabilities, not possibilities. I don't deal with the outliers. I don't deal with statistical anomalies. I deal with what is.
Now, look, I don't know your personal belief system. I know you're friends with Rollo, and I've read The Rational Male, and you have as well, I'm sure. So when you say that women operate off of possibilities, men operate off of probabilities, that kind of goes in direct contradiction with Rollo's assertion that men love idealistically and women love opportunistically.
How?
Because possibilities implies idealism, right? Like, I imagine what these things can be. Right?
No.
When you do that, then men would be idealistic.
No, I hear what you're saying. That's not. Oh boy. I don't want to get too far in the weeds, and I understand what you're saying. But when Rollo says that we love idealistically and women love opportunistically, is we as men, and this of course is before we find the true. And I don't want to get too deep here, but how can I put this? We are the true romantics. When we think about women, or at least before we find communities like this, when we think about women, we think of the white picket fence and we think of the ideal situation. Now, women pretend to love idealistically, but they're very, very practical. They are very opportunistic, and that's okay. Their survival is dependent upon that. So, yes, I am friends with Rollo, and I understand what he wrote in his book, The Rational Male, but bringing in what he said to thwart my argument, that's a moot point. Probabilities versus possibilities is what I'm talking about here. And we're talking about mathematics here. You are more likely to meet a woman who is promiscuous than not. You are more likely to meet men who are great leaders than a woman who is a great leader.
So the reason that I'm bringing that up is because inherently the assertions you're talking about goes down really deep, like you said, to male and female nature. Right. That's why I look at that as kind of a contradiction, because that's going to be expressed through their sexual behavior as well. Because, again, if you had to say, OK, well, is the word idealistic more congruent with possibility or probability? It have to be possibility. And then opportunistically would have to be probability, because when you're trying to love opportunistically, you're saying, OK, you're doing kind of a judgment of, OK, what's most probable? What's the probable equation of me, like, getting to this opportunity that I want? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So again, I might be nitpicking here. I know we're talking about misogyny.
I hear
we got a little bit off point again, but I think it's important because, when you see these sort of contradictions here, and again, I don't want to say that you 100% agree with Rollo, but when I see that, I can see that there's going to be a lot of confusion here. And usually, so again, what we have to think, if we bring up the definition of prejudice, right? Mm-hmm. Prejudice is a feeling or like, and this is off of Webster's dictionary, So the first one is an unfair feeling or dislike for a group of person because of race, sex, religion, etc. The other definition is a feeling of like or dislike for someone, especially when it's not logical or reasonable. What was the other one? Hold on one second.
Well, let me.
Okay. Here it is. I'm sorry. An adverse opinion or leaning formed without just grounds or before sufficient knowledge.
There we go.
So when I see, so when I see the contradiction there, again, it's one of those things because, like, look, when you're misogynistic, I don't necessarily think that you don't always necessarily hate women, right? It might be something that's deep within you that you aren't even aware of, but it comes out during times like this when there's a contradiction in your belief sets, and it's a logical
the contradiction
fallacy, right?
You're pointing out is the fact that I teach men about probabilities versus possibilities. So the contradiction is with Rollo. So that's a discussion you need to have with Rollo Tomasi. The bottom line here is that men make better leaders than women. It is far more probable that you're going to have a good male leader than a good female leader. Are there good female leaders out there? Absolutely. And again, what you're basically telling me is the truth. Not all women are like that. But as a man, I'm not going to prepare for something that I'm not going to prepare for the possibility. I'm not going to prepare for the statistical anomaly. I'm going to prepare for most of what's out there. I am preparing for what is most likely probable. Now, there are some men out there who think, hey, listen, I'm going to hold out for the statistical anomaly. There is nothing wrong with that. That's not what I teach here. All of that said, that just because I teach men that you need to go out for the probability and be prepared to deal with people based on probability, not possibilities, does not mean that I am misogynistic. And the whole prejudice thing, right? Let's say there's a weightlifting contest, right? All right, you can pick anybody you want to for a weightlifting contest. A woman comes out and says, I want to join. You gonna pick her? No. You are prejudiced against that woman because men are physically stronger than women. This is biology. Well, guess what? Even a woman's physical strength compared to a man's biologically is exactly the same thing as the mental. Again, are there women out there who are mentally stronger than men? Yeah, but there aren't many out there. Men are biologically hardwired differently than women. Here's another thing. This is why men make better leaders than women. Men, drug use and mental health notwithstanding, men, we are biologically identical every day. We are chemically identical every day. Women, they have 10 different moods over 10 different days because of their cycle. During the luteal phase of their cycle, they swoon a little bit more, they get a little bit more emotional. During premenstrual syndrome, they're a little bit more quick-tempered. One of the main reasons why men make better leaders than women, one of the main reasons why women do not make as effective leaders as men is because, number one, they're women, and a lot of times they think with their emotion, even when they want to think with logic. But number two, they're never chemically identical from one day to the next. Does this mean that women are bad people? Of course not. I said before, I believe women make better detectives because women are far more perceptive than we are. But there are biological reasons as to why, if women were better leaders than men, the world would be run by men. If women were physically stronger than women, then women would be in the strength positions. But women don't make as good a leaders as men. This is why most leaders are men. Look at the black community. The black community is in shambles because it is run by who? It is run by women.
Okay, so I agree with a lot of the biological things that you said there. Obviously my background's in personal training. Obviously, men are going to be, and I've been in powerlifting competitions myself. Obviously, men are more powerful and stronger than women are. Now, that being the case, that isn't a grounds for prejudice technically, because again, if we're going off the definition I read off earlier, it's an adverse opinion or leaning formed without just grounds or before sufficient knowledge, right? So
there's than a man an adverse opinion. If that's not an adverse opinion, that's a fact. She's not going to be able to lift as much as he does because he's a man and she's a woman.
Oh yeah, it's not an adverse opinion, but it's leaning formed without just grounds, right? So the just grounds there is okay. We're reverting to biology.
Hold on, you said just grounds. You can't be prejudiced against me. I'm a woman, sweetheart. You're a woman. That is just grounds. I want him on the powerlifting team because he's a man and you're a woman. Those are just grounds. The just grounds is the physical, the biological physiology.
I agree with you. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is, like, look, in that specific scenario of weightlifting, that wouldn't be considered prejudice because you have just grounds for your assertion that men are stronger than women,
Yeah,
right?
it's the
Because
same
you
with
can
labor
prove that
still.
biologically. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that that's not prejudice.
Okay.
So I'm not going out here saying like, oh, well, if you think that a woman, if a woman can't lift as much as a man can, are you assuming that that's sexist or whatever, prejudice automatically? Of course not, because you have biological and empirical, observable,
Sure.
scientific studies to show that in general, men are going to be way stronger than women. So I think that's fine.
Men and women are different.
So
go ahead. Go ahead.
no, it's okay. You can say it, John.
The bottom line here, and we can move on to the whole women need to be protected from themselves here in a minute. Men and women are different. And we all know it. I know it, and you know it. To use these statistical anomalies, to use a micro argument as a defense to the macro argument, that doesn't work. Men and women are different. Are there women out there who are stronger than men? Well, probably. Not too many. Are there women out there who make more effective leaders than men? Yeah, sure. But men and women, we are so biologically different. And this is the thing, man, is that this is why men and women are better together, because the things that men excel at, women generally do not. The things that women excel at, we as men generally do not. And so we, the yin and the yang thing. And I've said it before, men and women are better together. I had a great time out in Vegas slaying sluts, but my life now is a lot better. It's a lot calmer, and it was a good time out there. But my life is much better now that I am in what I believe is a good, solid, long-term relationship. So while I will agree with you that there are certain men in our community who just want to be prejudiced, just, oh, she's a woman and da-da-da-da-da. Like a lot of guys say, take away a woman's voting rights. That's never going to happen. But what I'm saying is the obvious. Men and women are different, and I acknowledge their differences. Now, could I qualify it by saying, well, most women are like that? I could probably do that, but acknowledging the probable biological differences between men and women does not make me a misogynist.
Okay, so really quickly, because again, I think and I agree with you. If you're making the exceptions every once in a while, yeah, that wouldn't make you misogynist. Sure. And I'll tell you for myself, Donovan, because I was consuming your content for a while back in the day, but then when I first saw that video of women cheat, men have sex, when I saw that and just your video explanation as well, that's the point where I was like, man, I don't know if I could follow this guy anymore. So like, yeah, if I had that explanation, sure, but I think it's really dangerous to just have those blanket statements. You know what I mean? Like, and I think it's important. Again, you can do whatever you want with your content, obviously.
Sure, but I think what you're missing is that I do, like, when I say men or women cheat, men have sex, I've explained it every single time. I mean, I can't really remember a time where I actually made that statement and just left it at that. If I have, then that again, I've done that a lot less than I've actually made the explanation. I always tell the story about the Peter Sellers and things of that nature. I understand what you're saying, but again, if someone is going to use like a certain statement that I make without looking for the context and saying, hey, listen, I don't want to follow this guy anymore. Listen, that's their choice. That's your choice. Just understand that I've explained this many times on my platform. And I'll tell you something else too, Kevin. This is actually interesting. Kevin Samuels told me this just yesterday, man. He actually said to me, he said, Donovan, he said, you need to quit talking to your audience like every one of them has followed you from the beginning. He says sometimes you really do have to get remedial with them. Sometimes you have to explain things every time. Not everybody has watched all of your content. So I will listen. I'll certainly concede that point. There is a certain responsibility, I guess, on me to maybe be a little bit more explanatory. But then again, the responsibility also has to be on the content creator. If they hear a strong statement, it is incumbent upon them to get maybe a second or a third opinion, and then maybe they scroll down the videos. Oh, here is where he explained the difference between male cheating and female cheating, and I have 3 videos on that.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's just an agree to disagree type thing, and again, it is your content at the end of the day. But I'm telling you, like, because look, I'm part of the manosphere too, right? I know people think that I'm just a hater and whatnot, but if they see my breakdowns of Fresh and Fit, I explain, case by case, like why I think that they're wrong. And I've been going after Fresh and Fit, but they're not the only ones I go after, quote unquote. It's not just me shitting on them like people think. If they actually watch the video, I actually offer valid critiques. But the reason that I do that is I think when it comes to, game and how to be a high value man, right? A man who's attracted toward women, a man who's confident about himself. It's more about finding out the things not to do, right? So that's one of the reasons that I do all those types of things. And I just wanted to leave it at that.
I will tell you this, Kevin, before we move on to the next point. Our age definitely matters. And it's weird because I can't always assume, like, how old are you? Like, somebody told me you were 38. I heard you were 27.
No, I'm 27. Yeah.
Okay. So
I think they might have confused it with Coach Whitebill, who's my business partner. He's 36.
Oh,
so maybe that's why.
All right, that's probably.
Yeah, maybe that's why. Yeah.
So you're 27 and I'm 44. That's a difference of 37 years, give or take, right? I have and I've been in this community a lot longer than you have, and so. And I will agree with you. I think there definitely needs to be. I don't want to make it official or unofficial, but I think there definitely needs to be sort of a. And I don't know that this could ever happen, but when guys come and listen to me, like I talk about some pretty advanced stuff. Anyone who's followed me for a long time and they hear a certain statement, they automatically understand the context, whether I explain it or not. I try to explain it most of the time, but I will say this. I'm not the guy. If you're going to start watching me, you really got to go back to like the episode 200s. That's where a lot of the remedial stuff is. And I'll take it upon myself to say, hey, and I actually do that on my shows. I'm like, listen, if you want to get your hands on the Patreon content, $5 a month, you can go back there, find out why Donovan ticks the way he does, and all the remedial education, how to build a quality woman from the ground up, Womanese 101, things of that nature. So I will admit, to the lay person who just now found this community, if they were to just start into the 700s episodes, then yeah, they could be confused, especially for a man who could be in the anger phase. I can certainly understand the responsibility there. But by the same token, a man it's still incumbent on the man to do the research and get the education himself. There are different levels to our community. There's no doubt about it. So yeah, so I mean, I understand that some guys have to explain things a little bit differently than others, but not everything is the same in terms of explanations.
Yeah. All right. So I want to move on here because again, I think let's move this. This is a fun conversation about all the other stuff, but I want to move it back to the whole misogyny thing because again, I'm not going to act like that's not a big accusation I'm throwing at you. It is a very big accusation. Now, let me ask you this because people get mixed up with terms and stuff sometimes. I mean, I'm sure you've been called like sexist and stuff before. I mean, I'm sure you've been called a misogynist and stuff, right? So if somebody called you like a sexist, I mean, what would your response to that be?
I'm not a sexist. Anybody, and it's interesting. Anyone who calls, when somebody calls me a sexist, it's usually after I point out the differences between men and women. Men are stronger than women. You're sexist. Men are better leaders than women. You're sexist. That's what they think. But they never hear me talk about women are more perceptive than men. Women are far more socially adept than men. Now, the reason I don't talk about those things is because this is a men's channel. But the very definition of sexist, as I perceive it, I mean, I'm not even using the dictionary here, is basically someone who tells the truth about the differences between men and women.
So you do consider yourself a sexist or no?
No, of course not. No.
Okay. Well, again, the reason that I brought that up, and maybe I can screenshot this because this is why I was confused. I thought you identified as that because
Donovan is a sexist son of a bitch who keeps women on their toes, their backs, and their knees.
Yeah.
I hear you. That is now, again, that's my bio, right? So Donovan is a sexist son of a bitch who keeps women on their toes, their backs, and their knees where they belong. Ha, ha,
ha. Who also, hold on, who objectifies women. If I can read it really quickly. So Donovan, this is on returnofkings.com. This is the bio. Right. Donovan is a sexist son of a bitch who objectifies women by keeping them on their toes, their backs, and their knees where they belong. And then after that, you talk about YouTube and all these other types of things. So again, I mean,
that to me, that's listen. Obviously, that's satire, right? And just given the context, it's Return of Kings. It's a very controversial website. It's tongue in cheek. Am I sexist? No. Am I a son of a? Well, I am a. I don't know. Am I a son of a bitch? I don't know. Do I objectify women by putting them on their toes and their backs and their knees where they belong? No. But again, it was almost an extreme satirical take. Like there's a guy on Twitter. He calls himself the honest misogynist. That's clever. That's brilliant. So using that as, hey, you called yourself sexist, and sometimes I'll even say, yeah, dude, the beginning of my show. Hey, what's up, guys? It's your man Donovan Sharpe. Welcome to TSR Live, your daily dose for toxic masculinity. That's not really what it means. That's me just leaning into the criticism. You want to call me a sexist? Fine. I'm a sexist. I objectify women. I'm a misogynist. That's literally all that is.
So here's my issue with that, Donovan, because that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's not a satire website. So even for me, right, because I watched your content stuff before, like it's hard for me to even parse that and say like, oh, this is definitely satire. So, when you had your debate with, what's his name? Dave West, right? Mm-hmm. He brought up a good point of saying like, look, you have like an impressionable audience. Now, unfortunately, he started to criticize your audience. I'm not trying to do that here. But, guys come to manosphere guys like us for advice and for help. And sometimes, so for example, your fans, and I got to give you credit here because you tell them to not harass me and Guste. Unfortunately, some of them still do because they admire you, right? And they're just like, well, Donovan, I'll tell you this, Donovan, I know for a fact, I could just tell by the way you talk to the other guys and everything, you truly, truly care about the men that you teach. I have no doubt about that, right? And I know you have no doubt about that either. Yeah. So I'll give you credit there. And that's cool to build rapport with your audience, but sometimes what ends up happening is when you take a leadership position like that and they start to look up to you, when they see something like that, they can actually take it to heart. And it's hard for most people to be able to be like, well, that's satire because it's not a satirical website.
Okay, now listen, I hear what you're saying, but that's anybody who looks at that and Donovan Sharpe, and it's like all of it except for, he can be found at this and that. Donovan Sharpe is a sexist son of a bitch who objectifies women by keeping women on their toes, their backs, and their knees where they belong. Listen, man, are there a few guys who might take that to heart? No, because if you're looking at it honestly, you understand, okay, at this point you have to be emotionally intelligent and intellectually honest. Anybody who reads that bio people call me misogynist. I could remove that bio anytime I wanted, but I'm not going to do that because I'm counting on the fact that men are going, you don't even have to be lower or high IQ. You just have to be, okay, all right, I get it. And then, of course, I write articles staying away from single mothers. But again, listen, I don't know what's in your head. You can tell me that that's the way you saw it. That's just you. The vast majority of people that see that, and even if, let's just say there were 5 people who saw it, oh my God, he really is a sexist son of a bitch. Okay, so then they actually go and look at my content. Well, wait a minute. He has a girlfriend. He says men and women are better together. So maybe he's not a sexist son of a bitch who objectifies women by putting their toes, blah, 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 blah. So if they take that one bio and just use that as a blanket statement, listen, that's, to me, anyone who says that they don't understand that or somebody could not know what I'm talking about, that's being intellectually dishonest. Maybe if a 14-year-old comes across that and sees that, okay, maybe, but all that 14-year-old would have to do is actually start reading my articles. So that's, to me, that's but
there's some issues with some of the articles that you have as well, Donovan. Like one of them was like comparing women to
shelter
dogs.
Yes.
Yeah. And you don't see an issue with that? Because again, my whole issue is with this, Donovan, is like, sorry, go ahead.
Listen, I don't see an issue with that because the comparisons were apt. Like, listen, man, I understand where you're coming from, but I don't pull punches, man. My content isn't for everybody. If you have a problem with it, that's fine. But no man has written to me and said, Donovan, my life is worse off because of you. Everything I do is for a reason. And if you have a problem with one of the articles that I've written, that's fine. I've compared women to cars. I've compared them to shelter dogs, all this other kind of stuff. Does this mean I hate women? No. I'm simply drawing comparisons. Pardon me.
Yeah, but it is congruent with your bio of saying, okay, well, I'm I objectify women because that's a form of objectifying to reduce them down to an animal.
Oh my
right? Like such as a dog.
Wait, say that again.
So basically, that's equivalent. When you say in your bio, you say that you objectify, right? And then you said that it's satire, but then you wrote that article seriously, right? So if you wrote that article seriously, it's congruent with you saying, okay, well, I'll read this off here. Shelter dogs and sluts are the same animal. Yes, there are slight few differences between them, but by and large, you can apply the same principles to both. You can get what you want out of them if you know what you're doing, but if you don't, your life will be turned upside down in many ways. So you are objectifying them in the sense of, okay, you're reducing them down to an animal, more specifically a shelter dog.
Listen, just because you compare something to something else doesn't mean you're reducing. If I compare a Lamborghini to a Toyota, does that mean I'm reducing the Lamborghini to the Toyota? If I compare a Lamborghini to a Panther, does that mean I'm reducing the Lamborghini to the Panther? No, I'm simply making comparisons.
Yeah, but wouldn't you agree there's a negative implication to comparing something to a dog, right? So, for example, like here, yeah, I'm sure I love dogs too.
Listen,
I mean, I used to have one myself.
Here's the thing. Listen, you can think that it's negative, and I'm sure that other people do too. I mean, listen, you're entitled to your opinion, but at the end of the day, that doesn't prove that I'm a misogynist. Like, now we're talking about objectifications. Let's get back to the talking about the misogyny. Okay, so I objectify women by putting them on their toes, their backs, and their knees, all satirical. And then I compare women to shelter dogs. What does that prove?
Okay, so what that proves is, because here's the thing. So objectifying, I mean, do you agree that you objectify them, or do you deny that?
Are animals objects?
So objectify, yeah, I mean, technically it's not just, maybe it could be like animalify, whatever, but I mean,
no, animals
objectify
are not
more
objects.
Specifically, you reduce them, you take somebody's humanity away from them, right? So we can agree that a dog and a human are different, right?
Dogs and humans are different, but guess what? Dogs are part of our family. Dogs are more revered in this country than humans. We got not to veer off course here, but there's a specific reason why I use dogs. You see, Kevin, there are people who protest in favor of abortion, which is killing people before they're born, right? Killing people before they're born. Now, whether you agree with that or not, that doesn't matter. But then when there's cruelty to animals, now everybody's all in an uproar. So let me get this straight. We're good with killing people before they're born, but and listen, people should get up in arms for cruelty to animals. But in this country, but dogs and animals are more revered than humans. That is exactly the reason why I use dogs. Michael Vick, the Michael Vick dog situation, he went to jail for 2 years because he had a dog fighting ring. Leonard Little killed someone in his car. Did not go to jail. Nobody lost their mind about that. So to tell me that I'm reducing people to dogs by I'm objectifying women by reducing them to dogs, that is not an apt comparison, because I have 2 dogs. Dogs are revered. It was simply a comparison, and dogs are not objects. Dogs are family. Dogs are beings. Pardon me.
Okay, again, that's fine, but that's your personal perspective, right? That's how you feel about the situation.
Okay,
if you look at it objectively,
listen, everybody has personal perspectives, Kevin, and just because
I totally get that.
No, I hear you, and just because my personal perspective doesn't line up with yours doesn't make me right or wrong. But to tell me that, okay, I say that I objectify women, but then I compare women to dogs. There's a reason why I didn't compare them to chickens. There's a reason why I didn't compare them to livestock. I compared them to dogs. That's it. I love dogs. Most people I know loves dogs. People in this country revere dogs. Well, let's get to the part where women have to be protected from themselves. Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we can go back to that. I'll go back to that in a second, I promise, because again, I brought it up, so it's on me to bring it back up. But I want to make sure, again, the reason that I wanted to make sure that you didn't consider yourself to be objectifying women is because objectifying goes along with the term misogyny. So in the definition of misogyny, contempt is one of the words. So if you're familiar, contempt.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So what does the word contempt mean?
So contempt is basically disrespect, right?
No.
So disrespect.
No. I thought contempt was just...
So if you're like in contempt of court, for example...
Now that's
contempt
different than having... See, if you're in contempt of court, that means you're disrespecting an officer of the court. Having contempt for someone is having hatred or feelings of negativity. So let me look...
I looked it up right here. So it's the act of despising...
It's the feeling that a person or a thing is beneath consideration, worthless, or deserving of scorn. He showed his contempt for his job by doing it very badly. I don't show... Oh, go ahead. So now that we have that contempt, go ahead.
Yeah, and also another, then again, this is on Merriam-Webster's dictionary, lack of respect or reverence for something. So, and if you look up objectify, again, I don't want this to be a whole like dictionary session, but when you, that's the ultimate form of contempt, of disrespect, of scorn, is to reduce somebody down to something that's not.
Let me ask. Well, no, you're absolutely right. But here's the difference. Women and men, but there are some people in this world that are, and I don't I don't hate women. I simply call them out for their bad behavior. Now, trust me, there are plenty of there are plenty of channels out there that talk about talk about men who ain't shit or this or that. I've never said that women, and I always say this, men are not superior or inferior to women. Women actually make us superior because the very definition of feminism reduces femininity. So in terms of contempt, like having contempt for someone, that's not what we do here. What I do is I tell hard and fast truths about women and their nature. And again, guys like you and other women like Goose Day, you guys this is the first time a lot of, especially women like her, you guys hear this from us and you say, oh my God, he said this about women. He must hate women. No, and now you're talking about lack of respect. I'm sorry, I'm not going to show respect for a woman who is sexually indiscriminate. Okay? A woman who is sexually indiscriminate and gets passed around and is a slut and a whore. Listen, man, I mean, I'll respect you on the outside, right? But I'm not going to commit to you. I'm not going to, the thing is this, man, women expect respect simply for being women. With men, we have to earn respect, okay? Women, and in terms of value, men, we have to build value. Women simply have to preserve it. Women are born with everything they need. But guess what? They end up throwing it away on eating junk food, going out, drinking, drugs, and having sex. I'm not going to have respect for a person who clearly shows that she's not going to have respect for herself. A woman who doesn't have respect for herself and shows as much with her actions, a woman who sleeps around is not a woman who respects herself. So how can she expect respect from me if she didn't have respect for herself? She can't. Okay, so
you made a very bold claim that a woman who sleeps around doesn't respect herself. Now that is, first of all, that's an opinion. I'm sure you agree with that. So I want to dive into that a bit more. What do you mean by not respect? Because again, people have different definitions of respect. You said personally for yourself, you wouldn't respect a woman. I don't want to put words in your mouth here, so please correct me if I'm misquoting you. You wouldn't respect a woman who sleeps around. Is that correct?
I don't respect women who sleep around. I don't respect women who are fat. I don't respect women who don't conduct themselves as respectable women. Sleeping around for a woman is not a respectable activity. This is why, Kevin, women reduce their notch counts by 17. Because they know sleeping around is not a good thing to do. And here's the thing, sleeping around for women, that's easier than breathing. So giving away something that's easier to give away than free air, again, you have to be worthy of respect in order to get respect. Now, when I was 18 years old, was I worthy of respect? No. I was gangly, I didn't have any money, I didn't know anything, but now here at 44 years old, I am now worthy of respect because I've built myself into a respectable person. Women don't get respect simply because they're women or people. No, you have to earn respect. Women are under the false impression, well, you have to give respect to get respect. Wrong. Respect is earned, never given.
Now, don't you look at that as dangerous, though?
No, it's not dangerous that's not dangerous at all,
okay.
Kevin. No, listen, hold on.
Can I explain why?
No, I'm going to explain to you why, and then you can explain. Respect is earned, Kevin. It's not given. And this, for me, this is both men and women. When I meet someone, yeah, I might respect them cordially, but just because a woman wants respect doesn't mean she gets it. You're not gonna you're not gonna show your ass on Instagram. You're not gonna be posting all these booty pics, but then have a problem when I talk about women who show their bodies on Instagram as women who are not respectable. That's just not gonna happen. Go ahead.
Yeah. So my issue with that is like, okay, everybody has kind of a different morality. You know, we're raised in a Judeo-Christian society in the West. Like, we're gonna have similar values, but sometimes it's going to be different. And just giving somebody the benefit of the doubt, a fundamental respect, even if we disagree with them, don't you think that that's something that we can do to all kind of just to fit into society?
No, that's a good point. Giving them the benefit of the doubt in terms of what?
Of just basic respect. That's why I wanted to, try to understand what you mean by respect, as in like.
That's a good question. Now, when you meet a person, you can't Professor X them and see their days of future past, pardon me, or anything like that. But there are certain verbal cues, there are nonverbal cues, there are physical cues, pardon me, physical cues that you can look for that tells you whether a woman is worthy of respect or not. To take it to the extreme, if I see a woman who has the horns in her head and she's got all kinds of piercings and tattoos and this and that, and she's fat, not a respectable person. Now, wait a minute, Donovan, she could be a virgin. No, she's not. When's the last time you saw a virgin with all piercings and all that stuff? Now, that is an extreme example, but I teach men to recognize the not so obvious signs that a woman has slept around, because as you might not agree with this, and I'm not really asking you to, but women who sleep around make terrible wives, mothers, and girlfriends. Women swing, they swing from relationship to relationship. And so when it comes to respect, I don't give anybody the benefit of the doubt as far as respect is concerned. Now, I will respect you person to person as long as we have a surface level relationship. If I know of you and I see you in passing, yeah, I'll hey, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to disrespect you because you haven't earned that respect. But the more I get to know someone, at that point, now I'm going to start to judge them. And yes, we as people, we absolutely do judge. No, Kevin, you can't always judge a book by its cover, but you can most of the time.
Yeah, and again, that's fun, because my whole thing, again, and this is the criticism of misogyny as well, is like, how is it done through action? So you can have all the different, ideas or whatever in your mind. You could, whatever. I want to say it's irrelevant because it's good to know about so that you can predict future actions, but you can never prove that, right? That's why I was very careful to say. That's why I was very careful to say you're a misogynist. I can't prove that you hate women, but sure. I'm trying to say here why I think you are a misogynist based on the.
And I'll bring you back to this. That's actually a very good question, and this goes back to possibilities versus probabilities, right? So let's just take two women. Let's take two women. And let's just go extreme again. Let's take our fat, tattooed chick from Austin, Texas, the green hair, the bullhorn, all that good stuff. And then you have a modestly dressed girl in a sundress. Now, at first blanch, the more respectable person clearly appears to be the girl in the sundress. At first blanch, she appears to be the more respectable person. Chances are she hasn't done drugs. And listen, that doesn't mean that the girl in the sundress can't be every bit the crazy person that the girl with all the tattoos and things are. But that's all we have to go on. And you want to know why we have to do these things, Kevin? Because women are not going to tell us. Women aren't going to tell us about their history. They're not going to tell us where they've been or what they've done. This is why, shameless plug here, this is why I came out with my Womanese series. When a woman says, I haven't been in a relationship in 2 years, what she wants us to think is that she's been sitting with her legs snapped shut for 2 years. No, she's been out here sport fucking just like everybody else. And so a man has men and women. Women judge men based on the way they look, the way they act, the way they carry themselves. So if a woman is at the bar and a guy approaches her I don't even know if this even happens anymore, but if a guy approaches her at the bar, his clothes are kind of tattered, he doesn't really smell that good, his hair is kind of whatever, she's not going to give him the time of day, nor should she, because he simply does not look the part. But and women will be like, that's right, I'm not going to give that guy the time of day. But let a man judge a woman based on her appearance, our girl from Austin, Texas. Well, you don't know anything about her. She could be a devout Christian and this and that and the other. That's possible, not probable. And there's precious little evidence of her respectability.
Okay. So again, sorry to go on a tangent there. Let's go back because you brought it up, and then so let's bring up the third kind of platitude that you tend to have on your channel. We need to protect women from themselves, right? Yeah. So if you could elaborate a bit on that for
Yeah,
me, because
yeah.
when I hear that on the surface, I think, okay,
Let me-
well, we're just
before I
robbing
go on-
them of their individual autonomy.
No,
Oh,
I
go
got you.
ahead, go ahead.
Before I get to that, you're absolutely right in terms of, remember what you said, that we were raised in sort of a Judeo-Christian society, and that there are different standards around the world. Because, I mean, there are many, many, and I'm not an overly religious person, and I think the reason why is because it's hard for me to believe that the Hindu is any less right or wrong than the devout Baptist in Kentucky. That's just, but different religions and different cultures have different standards. Yes, they're all very different. But there are a few universal tenets that they all abide by, whether they acknowledge it or not. And that is female chastity. Women who sleep around in any culture are not respected. Women who sleep around in any culture, in Japan, if a girl is 25 years old and not married, they call her Christmas cake. Okay, that, and I guess that's fruitcake in America, and I like fruitcake, so I don't. But the point is that they're not looked favorably upon. So no matter what country, what region of the world, what religion, they all have different religions. But one thing that binds humans together, and this is why we talk about the biological difference between men and women. Women who are not sexually chaste are not women who are respectable. They are looked down upon. Now, are there some slutty women out there with some otherwise redeeming qualities? Absolutely, man. Mary Magdalene, I think, of the Bible, she was a hoe and she managed to do some good things. So this doesn't mean that sluts are non-redeemable, right? Like, there are some sluts out there who sleep around and they see the light, they meet the right guy, and they turn their lives around. That is totally possible. But what I'm saying to you is, and you're right, there are different standards and there are different different cultures and religions, but one of the very few binding ties that ties humans together on this earth is female chastity. A female who is not chaste is a female who's not respected as much as she should be.
Okay, so yeah, I agree. A bunch of different. So here's the thing, and this is, again, it's interesting that we have a lot of agreements. I was actually expecting this because we're both red pilled, right? So, a lot of what happened with the everything changed with the birth control pill, obviously, right? So, especially because of that, beforehand, chastity, those types of things was very important because it was a form of mate guarding, as Rolo talks about.
Yeah.
But as well as it was just dangerous too. Actually, believe it or not, I could be wrong on this, but I think there were only 2 STDs until the sexual revolution. Then all of a sudden you have all these hippies fucking each other in the mud, and then now there's 50 plus STDs or whatever.
Right.
So STDs they were concerned, but not as much back then. It was more so unwanted pregnancies.
Okay.
I do want to bring this up to you though, Donovan, because, and this is separate from the misogyny thing.
Okay.
I see this, and we'll loop back to it. Don't worry. I see this a lot in the red pill, and I'm very much a critique of it. Same with my friend Alex playing with fire. He doesn't necessarily consider himself part of the red pill community, but I see this kind of double standard sometimes, because you say, okay, well, you just put a chaste woman as a value, right? But at the same time, you talk about, okay, well, what do you need to do to have sex with these girls? Again, for me personally, with my morality, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that women are able to exercise their sexual options now. I think there's going to be some good and bad things based on that.
Women. No, I agree with you. I don't think it's a bad thing. Listen, I am pro sex positive. I'm just not going to marry these hoes, right? Now, a lot of people talk about the double standard, the sexual double standard between men and women. But the interesting thing is that I am one of very few men who actually hold women to that double standard. And here's what I mean. Men and women are not the same sexually. Most women would not sleep with most men. You understand? Most men are invisible to most women. If you told a guy and a girl, we're going to turn you loose in New York City for an entire week, see who can sleep with the most guys or girls, the girl is going to win by a long shot. The bottom line here is that, and again, this is a biological thing, it's very easy for women to get their hands on sex. They can get laid literally. Dude, they have a device in their hand where they can summon a dozen cocks to their exact location in 3 texts or less. Is that a bad thing? I mean, I'm not here to say whether that's good or bad. If a girl wants to sleep around, that's fine. But those things have consequences. Now, on the other hand, a man who can sleep with a lot of women, now there's a guy who has value. See, women don't have to bring really anything to the table to qualify to have sex with a man. She just has to be there and willing. Men, on the other hand, the bar is much higher, and I'm not here to complain about that. I'm never going to be the guy that says, well, getting laid for guys should be as easy as it is for girls. No, it should not be. And again, it's the subconscious biology thing. But there is no sexual. Is there a sexual double standard? If it's a negative connotation, I can't answer yes or no. But I will say this: a man who has sex with a lot of women is not the same as a female who has sex with a lot of men. It is very, very difficult, even for high status men, to have sex with a lot of women. It is very easy for women to sleep around, and so for women to complain that they're being like they want to be glorified for doing what's easy. That would be like me saying, you know what? I should get a check for $1 million because I got up and brushed my teeth today. No shit, Sherlock. You should. It's easy for you to do that. Women want to be praised and subsequently respected for simply saying yes to something that is easy to say yes to. So as far as a sexual double standard is concerned, and check this out. Women, actually, a man who sleeps with a lot of women is far more sexually attractive than a woman who sleeps with a lot of men. Now, a man would certainly sleep with a slut, but he's not going to commit to her. And at the end of the day, men, we're after mainly sex. Women can get sex anytime they want. What they want is the commitment. Where they have the problem is that they want to be able to act like men sexually, but still get the commitment. And I don't make the rules. I don't make the rules. Women, it's so funny. They try to tell us that they're sexually attracted to men who don't sleep around, but they're not, nor should they be. They shouldn't be, because a man who doesn't sleep around is clearly a man who does not understand his way around a woman. I have no problem with that at all. But a man who sleeps around is not the same as a woman who sleeps around. It's not even really the same creature, to be honest with you.
Oh, I totally agree with that. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's no doubt about that. There's actually there's a funny stand-up joke by, I think it was Jim Jeffries. He says he's making a distinction between sluts and studs.
Yes.
So
and a fake job.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's
with this funny accent. Yeah.
Let's round third and head for home and talk about the women protecting themselves from each other.
Yeah. So let's get to that.
From themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. So could you explain that to me? Because again, the entire thing with misogyny is, any form of bigotry is when you end up robbing somebody of their individual autonomy, and then you decide for them, right? Yep. Because you look at them as subhuman or lesser than. Well, so when I hear something like that, I can't help but think.
I hear you. So let me explain. Women need to be protected from themselves. That doesn't make them bad people. Okay. And I want men to understand, and this is something I really try to make a distinction about, because this is one of the few areas where I feel a responsibility to explain the context. A woman's default programming is self-destruction. Okay. If a woman is on her own and she is, if she's on her own and she's not married, what is she going to do 12 times out of 10? Well, she's going to sleep around. Sleeping around for women, while fun and enjoyable, that's bad for her physical, her mental, and even her spiritual health. Sex impacts women far more than it does men, and that's a physical thing. You're letting a man inside your body and DNA and all that other kind of stuff. So what men have to understand is that, and here's the thing, women, today's women, they have habits that are conducive to slutty behavior and infidelity. Being on Instagram, you can hook up off Instagram, going to the bars or clubs, and again, I don't know if girls are doing that or not. Tinder apps, dating apps, things of that nature. Most of a woman's activities, when they do not have a man of value who is a strong leader in their lives, they end up destroying their lives. This is why women in their, mid to late 30s and early 40s, this is why they're train wrecks, because they didn't have a relationship with a strong man to protect her from herself. A lot of guys say this: if a woman loves you, she will never cheat on you. Wrong. If a woman loves you, she will allow you to keep her from situations where she could cheat. A lot of guys like to say, well, I trust my woman. I would trust her to go to a bachelorette party. Then they'll ask me, well, Donovan, do you trust Devin? My answer is I trust Devin to be a woman. As such, my job is to protect her from herself. If Devin goes to a bachelorette party, guys have to understand, just because your woman loves you, that doesn't automatically stop her from being sexually attracted to other guys. Women sees guys she wants to smash all the time. I see girls I want to smash all the time. This is how it is. But women need to be protected from themselves because their very habits are conducive to dick getting thrown in their direction 24/7. And so a man who understands that women need to be protected from themselves, that's the kind of man who's going to be strong enough to say, okay, I'm not going to tell you what you can or cannot do, but I don't commit to women who do X, Y, and Z. So that's what I mean. This doesn't mean that women are bad people. Children need to be protected from themselves. Boxers need to be protected from themselves. I'll even take boxers for example. And I don't know if you're a fight fan, but I just watched. I've watched 100 fights, and you'll see a fighter in the ring for like a 5-second span. He's getting absolutely obliterated. But the warrior in him he is knocked out cold. He will not fall. So it's the referee's job to get in there, take his mouthpiece, and call the fight to protect the fighter from himself. Also, with regards to boxing license, Evander Holyfield can't get a license in Nevada or New York, so he has to fight in Tennessee. Why? Because he slurs with his speech. He's had it. He's done. And so it's incumbent upon men to understand the true nature of women. And the true nature of women isn't bad, Kevin. It just is. Women are designed to constantly seek out the best genes possible. And when left unchecked, they end up like most American women today. American women have control over themselves. And look at the state of American women.
Okay, so here's some of the problems that I have with that, because you were, basically kind of saying or implying things that like along the lines of like, well, they can't control themselves, right? So for example, if a girl goes out, she might, get fucked that night because of her emotions or whatever. You even compare them to children for a second, right?
Let me clarify. Let me clarify before we move on. Let me reframe it like this. It's not that she can't. Women are impulsive and men can be impulsive. Men are more impulsive than women. But if a woman has an opportunity to have sex with a hot guy, she's going to take it. If a man has an opportunity to have sex with a hot girl, he's going to take it. The difference is sex is far more damaging to women than it is to men. Men who have slept with hundreds or thousands of women, they're just fine mentally. 1 in 4 women are on antidepressants and or anti-anxiety meds. What do all of these women have in common? They sleep around. So it's not an impulsive thing. It's just in their nature. Sex is more damaging to women than it is to men. This is why we have to protect them from that. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, so men can. So you acknowledge that both men and women, right? They could be put in situations where they just want Because here's the issue.
Yeah,
that,
listen,
right?
100%. I'm definitely that's
okay.
What I'm saying.
Because here's the issue with that. It's like, yes, but that's based on your own anecdotal experience. Because like, okay, is it every single time? Because I'm sure maybe you've had some times in your life, and I certainly have myself, where I see some hot girl and I'm just like, wow, I really want to have sex with her, but for whatever reason I don't. Maybe I'm in a relationship.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe I don't know. I heard some stories about her, like
Right. No,
so
I hear you.
Yeah. So that's really the issue that I have with these, Donovan, is like when I'm talking to you one-on-one, sure, you're not speaking in absolutes, but with these terms, they are put in absolute terms, right? And another thing too, like, so let me ask you one thing right here, because you compared women to children. Could you elaborate on that? Because I hear that on the surface, and that robs them a bit of their autonomy, right? It's not objectifying in the sense of,
it doesn't rob them of their
reduce
autonomy.
them to an object, but
okay. Women are overgrown children. Okay, not to, and no disrespect, but well, I don't want to bring her into this. When women don't get their way, they act like children. When women get rejected, they act like they throw a fit. If a woman does not have structure and discipline in her life, again, she's self-destructive, right? Well, children, they also have to be protected from themselves, but in a different way, right? You have to, the little plug things, you keep them from sticking the fork in the plug, and you have to baby-proof everything. Children and women are the same in that when left to their own devices, they are self-destructive. Those are the facts. And we can walk around and see women who look like they're put together. The average woman is miserable. The average woman is like, what is missing in my life? Well, what is missing in your life is a man that you trust, respect, and love. But you've been fucked by so many dudes, you can't really pair bond as quickly as you were able to. You get the 7-year or the 7-minute itch, and it's on to the next relationship. So, and not to bring in other religions, but actually the Muslim religion and the old school Christian religion, it was customary for a young woman to live with her parents until she got married. The reason for that is because a woman who is out in the world she's going to be tempted by cocks, right? Well, what about men, Donovan? Absolutely the same thing. But again, the difference is sex affects women a lot more differently, a lot worse than sex affects men. With men, we tell them, dude, if I had a son, I'd be like, listen, dude, make sure you wrap up. Just make sure you wrap up. Dude, go out there, fuck as many broads, get your heart broken, blah, 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 blah. If I had a little girl, I would give her the opposite advice. You are, dude, if Olivia was my kid, and I joke about her with this all the time, I'm like, yo, as long as and she stays with us 1 or 2 times a week, I'm like, listen, when you're in this house, you're not dating until you're 25. And she kind of laughs, but she understands, right? And so again, I go back to men and women are different. Sex affects women differently than it affects men. Look around us, and again, women need to be protected from themselves, because if they don't, not that they do all of these things, but like look, like you have to look around, man. Women have more tattoos, body piercings. Dude, alcoholism is up. You know, they do drugs, things of that nature. Are guys doing the same things? Absolutely. But being experience does not look good on a woman. Experience looks good on a man, really, for better or worse.
So you say that women are overgrown children. Mm-hmm. Why do you say women? Why not men as well? Why not just describe that term for all humans, or all sure. Human adults?
Yeah.
Like, why specifically women? That's one of that, because when I see that, right, because the things you were describing just sounds, and you acknowledge yourself before that men and women can end up acting out emotionally.
Absolutely, but women do it. But women do it more than men. You see, there are some men out there that are overgrown children, but far more women are overgrown children than are men. And again, this is a men's channel. I'm not going to say men are overgrown children. Well, very few of them are. Are they out there? Absolutely. Women are overgrown children. You ever seen a woman get rejected by a guy? They do not handle it well at all. You ever seen a woman get fired at work? They don't handle that well at all. Women are simply ill-equipped to handle adversity because they've been coddled since birth. And to me, that's not a bad thing. Women should be coddled. Not coddled. I think that's the wrong word. I don't want to treat women like princesses, but we have to handle females a little softer because they're females. We can't handle them like we handle boys. And so when women are sort of given the world, when they're given the world since birth, they're told that they can do no wrong. Well, when the average woman, when somebody tells them no, they react very childishly.
Yeah, but I would say the same thing with men as well. I mean, men, again, in general, will act childishly just like women would. Because again, the issue is you're bringing in your own personal anecdotal experience.
Give me an example. No. See, again, and now see, that's where I have to disagree. That's not the argument. Based on my personal experiences, listen, man, millions of men have told the same stories. That's why this community exists. I broke up with my girlfriend and she went absolutely crazy. A guy in Omaha, Nebraska says, holy shit, that happened to me too. We didn't all just decide to get together and lie on women. This community, we all found each other because we have similar experiences with women. So for you to tell me, well, this is just based on your own anecdotes, if this were based on my own anecdotes, I wouldn't have over 125,000 subscribers. My story and my teachings resonate with men because we all have similar experiences. I might have more experiences, but that doesn't make them any different.
Okay, so that's still anecdotal, though. That's a collective anecdotal experience, and you could end up having sort of...
Whoa, wait a minute. A collective... Hold on. Let me stop you right there. A collective anecdotal experience? So, okay, we've got 20 million men with the same story, but that's anecdotal, so that doesn't count. Come on, man. Come on.
I didn't say 20 million.
Well, then what's the line of...
right?
Hold on. What's the line of demarcation? What's the line of demarcation? I mean, if we really want to curate it down to the nano, to the nano person, because what you're essentially saying, anybody can disqualify anybody's opinion or statement by saying, well, that's just your experience. The red pill community would not exist if we didn't all have similar experiences.
Okay. So the issue with that is, look, you have all those similar experiences. So let's say, for example, all right, let's say 20 million, right? And how many men are there in the U.S.? So let's say, 100
million.
Yeah, so let's say, I think it's like 150. So 100 million other men have different experiences. And they come out with, different. They deduce different things about female nature based on their personal experiences. Meanwhile, you and your community have different things as well. That's
Kevin,
kind of the issue that I have. So if you have like a forum,
that's not.
Hold on 1 second, Donovan. I'll let you talk 1 second. I promise. So when you have like it's kind of like a selection bias or survivorship bias, where like
or confirmation bias.
Or confirmation bias, yes, where you're going to have a bunch of different men who, for whatever reason, like they're searching up online, maybe they just went through a breakup or whatever, they're already feeling some type of way because of that. And then you have all this collection of them, and it's entirely possible that the assertions that they have about female nature is based on the fact that they were in a beta male mindset, and women only treat them that way because they are beta males. It's not something that they treat all men with.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's... Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. But whether you're a beta male or a quote unquote alpha male, women may treat you differently. Beta versus alpha, that does not change them as women. What did we say? 150 million men in the United States, dude. If you poll 150 million men, and if they all and if they all answer questions honestly, how flaky are women? Have you ever been cheated on? Blah 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 blah. You wouldn't get 100% congruency, but there is a reason why YouTube suppresses us in the algorithm. There's a reason why they don't want people to find this content, is because what we're speaking here is true. If what we assert about a woman's true nature, and again, it's not just because we say it. Women show their true nature all the time. This is why I break down dating shows. But if what we were saying were just so outlandish, then why would anybody care?
So sorry, hold on. I was writing some stuff down. So why would anybody care? Could you repeat that? I'm so sorry.
No. Why would we have so many detractors? Like, let's just say I can't really use the flat Earth thing because that's a Looney Tunes. Let's just say that there was a group of people who thinks that grass is purple or something. Well, no, now we have to talk about experience because a fact is something that can be proven to be true. I'll use this example. If what we were talking about were so outlandish, if such a small, minute amount of people only had these same experiences, then why would feminism, why would our detractors feel so strongly about it? If what we were revealing about the true nature of women were just so off the wall, like if somebody said, Donovan, I was in a debate with this chick. This woman said, I bet you have a belly, you don't work out, and you play video games all day. That didn't faze me because none of that's true, right? Basically, what women are telling us is that they're hit dogs, man. When women see this content and they go absolutely crazy, it means that what we're saying is correct. They know their true nature, but they don't like that we know about their true nature because guess what? That doesn't make us easy marks anymore.
Okay, interesting point. I want to shift this a bit because again, this is a great conversation that we're having, Donovan.
Okay, I agree. Last point, because I do have a consultation, but last point, I'll give you the floor. Yeah.
Sure. I want to ask you this because I think it's, again, because originally I thought your channel was so great and I got turned off by some of the other stuff in the rhetoric. It's like, why do you resort to like name calling and stuff with like slut, hoe, like one of your thumbnails recently, or one of your videos said like used up slut, did whatever. Like, I think it's really important in the manosphere. And this is one of the reasons I call this type of stuff out is because, a lot of other guys who otherwise would want to come into this community and hear some good things that they need to know to actually protect themselves, right?
Yeah.
A lot of them, they'll get turned off by that immediately using that language. And that language, again, goes in turn, is very much aligned with the misogynist standpoint of
no, it's not.
Disrespect. So
no, it's not. The definition of slut is a woman who has many casual sexual partners. That's on Google. If a woman has many casual sexual partners, then she is a slut. I don't know how that's misogynist. If I lose my right arm in an if I get paralyzed from the neck down, I am a quadriplegic. That's a fact. That's not based on anybody's opinion. No, a slut is a woman who has many casual sexual partners. If a woman has many casual sexual partners, then she is a slut. Listen, it sounds bad. Don't get me wrong. It sounds bad. I mean, listen, it sounds strong, but that's the word, dude. Slut, whore. If we want to go old school, harlot, floozy, stuff like that. But we have to speak in plain terms.
They're not plain terms, though. They're derogatory terms. That's the issue.
No, slut is not derogatory. A slut is a woman who has many casual sexual partners. If you don't want to be
Well,
called,
when you say used up slut, if you say used up slut, that's derogatory.
Okay, well now we're talking. Well, now we're talking semantics. It doesn't, whether I call a girl a slut or a used up slut doesn't matter. We would still be having this conversation. If a woman doesn't want to be called a slut, guess what she has to not do? Sleep around. If you listen, and women are so, and this is what women have to do. And again, this is not an indictment on the female species, but women are hyper aware of their perception to the world, as they should be. Like in this day and age, a woman's, most of a woman's currency is in her sexual purity and the way she looks. So when someone calls them a slut, they're not going to really take that too well. But if the shoe fits, sweetheart, you got to wear it. If you want to be treated like a lady and not a slut, then you act like a lady and not a slut. If I were to get fat, dude, I used to be 312 pounds. Guess what I was? I was fat. A derogatory term would be a fat ass. If somebody calls me a fat ass, listen, it might hurt, but it's true. So if you don't want to be called a slut, the solution is simple. Don't be a slut.
Well, even though it's true, like, okay, so fat ass, you would agree that that's a derogatory term, right? It's a descriptive claim of like, hey, you are a fat ass, you are fat, but also like it's not necessary to say that. That's what I'm trying to say is like, look, I think this stuff is hurting the manosphere, man. That's why I call it out, because I think the manosphere is great, but when you use these terms...
Listen. This is where you and I diverge. If a woman's a slut, I'm going to call her a slut. It is what it is. And this is the reason why people follow us, is because we don't sugarcoat things. If I say, well, if a woman is sexually indiscriminate, no, that doesn't have the same sting. Because, well, I guess I could commit to a woman who is sexually indiscriminate. No, we got to call it like it is. And here's the thing. Most people who call women sluts are not men. Otherwise, they get canceled. No, it's women who call other women sluts. I didn't make up the word. The definition in Google is a woman who has many casual sexual partners. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. And the thing is this, maybe some guys like content that doesn't really... They don't like it like, raw or whatever the case may be. And I can understand that. But I have a male audience. And men should be able to handle, oh my God. And check this out. I'll tell you this too. I'll tell you this, Kevin. My mom and my two sisters, all sluts. I love my mother and I love my sisters. They were sluts, dude. My mom and my sisters had at least two abortions apiece. My mom had 2 abortions while she was married to my father. My mother, while she was married, was a slut. My sisters were sluts. That's how it is. As men, we have to get very comfortable with accepting hard and fast truths about ourselves and women. Because I'm gonna tell you something else. The word fat ass might be derogatory, but guess what? If a dude has a fat ass, then he has a fat ass. So if someone is going to unfollow me, well, I don't like that he calls women sluts. Okay. I mean, if you don't want me to call a spade, I won't. But I mean, we can say that that's hurting the manosphere all we want to. And to be honest with you, I don't know. But I don't care whether that hurts the manosphere or not. In my mind, telling guys like it is, that's the way to get the point across. And men are helped by this stuff. Like, dude, hey, your wife was a slut when she was married to you. That fucking, dude, it fucking hurts to hear something like that. But that's how it has to be done. The only way any man or woman is going to be able to change their life for the better is if someone just keeps it raw and real with them, no matter how offensive it may be.
Okay, so it sounds like you need to go in a little bit. But again, I think it's really important to wrap this up because, the thing is with the certain few platitudes that you had in terms of, it sounds like you basically changed your mind on it. I do, again, as somebody who's somebody who's an upcoming content creator, but also as a consumer of content, I'm telling you, man, I think it's really important to make sure that you make those distinctions. Because like you said before, look, I don't know you as a person, right? I can only judge off the actions and the rhetoric that you have online.
Sure.
But then when you say on your website, like, okay, Donovan is a sexist who objectifies women, then you say that's like satire.
We covered that already.
Well, how do I discern, how can I take you seriously? You know what I mean? Like, how do I discern when you're joking and when you're telling the truth?
Yeah.
And when you're actually saying...
I hear you. And I'll tell you, just use your intelligence. Like, again, if you really believe that I objectify women by keeping them on their toes, their backs, and their knees, and this is no offense to anyone who would actually take that seriously, but that person is probably not ready for my content, right? Like anyone who sees that for the very first time, whoa, wait a minute. Now, of course, that would turn them off, right? Because that's raw. That, you know, it's raw, real, and it's satire and all that good stuff. But again, what you have to understand is men, especially men have to be able to discern the difference between satire and sarcasm and the real stuff. Just because you're telling me that you can't distinguish the difference doesn't mean that you actually can't. I think what you're wanting me to do is water down or soften my message, and I don't blame you for saying that. So we'll just agree to disagree in that respect, but I only know, as far as this community is concerned, I only know one way to be. And I'll tell you something else. I'll tell you something else too, man. You can ask my girlfriend, dude, I have called Devin, oh my God, dude, I have called Devin a bevy of names that people would find offensive. And the reason for that is because I don't pull punches with her. And listen, man, it does not give me pleasure to have to air her out. But in order for us to get what we get out of each other, in order for me to get her best, I got to keep it all the way real with her all the time, even if it does hurt her feelings. So as far as feelings and sugarcoating is concerned, that's not something I'm going to do. I can understand someone your age would think that that's important, but it hasn't hurt me so far, and I don't see it hurting me in the future. I will give you the very last word.
Yeah. So again, what I really had a concern with my original video is saying, okay, well, those initial statements. So men, what is it? Men have sex. Women cheat. Men have sex. Women cheat. Men have sex. We need to protect women from themselves. Women are incapable of leadership. My assertion with those things is because, again, you said before, you agree that with the definition of misogyny, including prejudice, those are by definition on their own prejudicial, right? Because they're speaking in absolute terms. Now, the reason that so those terms themselves are still misogynist, right? I mean, I think you basically agree with that if you don't know the context behind it. So are you willing to just not use those terms anymore?
No, I'm gonna continue to use those terms because prejudice.
But they're still Go ahead. Sorry.
You can label it however you want. But a prejudice is a preconceived opinion that is not based on reason or actual experience, right? Based on reason or actual or actual experience. Man and a woman, who's going to be stronger? The man. That's it. Man or woman, who has the potential to be a better leader? The man. That's it. So that's not being prejudiced. The
issue is you're speaking in absolute terms, right? So because you're speaking in absolute terms, you end up robbing an entire gender of their individual autonomy because it's in an absolute term. Again, I would be okay if you say women tend not to be able to be capable of leadership, but
right, but you want to know something.
You don't want to change that. That's why I think
listen,
that's
you're right, but
misogynist.
that doesn't have the same impact. To say that women tend not to be as good of leaders as men, that doesn't do it justice. No, it's more extreme than that. Men are better leaders than women. Very few women are capable of leading, but men are better leaders than women. If I say, well, women who live alone tend to sleep around. No, women who live alone sleep around. That's it.
Okay, so I understand that it's easier to digest, but I don't think that's an appropriate argument. So here's a reason why. So we can draw a parallel here, right? So let's say, for example, we say, okay, well, on average, in terms of IQ, Asians are smarter than Asians are the smartest. White people are here. Black people are here. Right? It's a terrible statistic that like white supremacists always try to talk about.
Sure.
Right? But if they do that in absolute terms and they just say, well, black people are dumber than white people, or black people are dumber than Asian people, right? That is extremely racist, and it's an easy digestible term. But you are saying you're doing a blanket statement. Now, if you say, okay, in general, in aggregate, if across populations, black people tend to have a lower IQ on average than white people. Okay, you can have that, and it still sounds pretty bad because they don't, take into account other things. And usually people spouting that stuff are just white supremacist assholes anyway.
Sure.
But if you have those blanket statements, just because it's easy to digest, that doesn't necessarily justify the validity of it. It's still an extremely racist thing to say. Just like those other things are extremely misogynistic on their own without context.
Black people in this country have better genetics than white people, physically. Is that racist? Well, no, it's not racist. It's a fact. 32 of the last...
In general. Not all the time.
32. Okay. Person for person, black people have better physical genetics than white people. How do I know? Look at our professional sports leagues, right? The NFL is dominated by black people. The NBA dominated by black people. 4 of the top 6 home run hitters in baseball history, which is only 8% African American men. Does that make me a racist? No, I'm simply stating a fact that is true. Now, the whole IQ thing, it's very hard to quantify that because, and I understand where you're going. I understand where you're going with that. But I think that's not a good parallel. And the reason why is because IQ can be very ambiguous in many ways. Like, I understand where you're going, but that's just a bad example. Now, if
my thing wasn't,
well, niggers aren't as smart as white people, okay, right, whatever. You just let that go. But what it really comes down to is if something, just when I make a judgment based on reason and actual experience, that's not prejudice. That's judgment. I'm making a judgment call. There's a man and a woman in front of me. The man is going to be a better leader than the woman. There's a man and a woman in front of me. The man is going to be more emotionally stable than the woman. And again, obviously, extreme situations notwithstanding. Now, as far as did you prove whether or not I was misogynist, who knows? But I will say this: you pleasantly surprised me today. You really did. And to be quite honest with you, I don't think you and I see things much different. I think you and I agree on the fundamentals. I think maybe the main fundamental difference between you and me is simply the delivery of what we know to be true, or what we think we know to be true. And
we're both definitely. Well, if you want to know, again, I kind of outed myself. It's kind of a open secret that I ran the account at Red Pill Advice on Instagram. So if you want to see, because I get accused all the time of people being like, you don't even provide content. You're just sitting there hating. Man, I provide content all the time. It's just sometimes you don't know it's me. You know what I mean?
No, I hear you.
Look, so let me ask you this again, because I will say this, like, I don't know Guste super personally. People are saying, like, I'm a white knight and whatnot. I know you said that too for entertainment purposes. It's fine.
No, I said that because it's real. You white knighted for. You shouldn't have done that. You should never defend. Well, you just said it yourself. Like, you don't really know her that well. You cannot go to bat for someone that you don't know that well. That is irresponsible.
Well, and so I didn't white knight for her. My stance was more so like, okay, I'm a free speech absolutist. So, for example, now I will say this, right? Because I think I saw. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I'm pretty sure you said that she wanted to cancel you or something.
Yeah,
right? Did she say that?
She threatened. Okay. She says, so keep talking shit, I'm gonna get the.
I will straight up say this, no matter what, just because I'm a free speech absolutist. If you get canceled, Donovan, I'd be the first person to defend you to come back.
Well, I appreciate that.
Because I'm a free speech absolutist. So again, look, Guste and I have different. I'll tell you this myself too, right? So Guste. I'm sure she's, on the left, probably. I'm a registered Republican. I've never voted Democrat in my life. So her and I definitely probably have a lot of differences. The reason that I came to her defense was it was a free speech issue and almost kind of an ethics issue, to be honest. Because look, man, 5-second intro of you talking about her, I don't really get that. It's fair use. You know what I mean?
Listen, YouTube is going to.
It's not like I was compromising my values in order to because I
hear you.
So one thing that you said too is okay, well, if she was a bit more overweight or unattractive, would I have still done that? The answer is absolutely yes. If she was a dude, if she was an ugly dude, I would have done the same exact thing. I guarantee you, man.
All right.
If one of my if they don't even need to be a friend of mine. So if you put I was about to say one of my friends, but some content creator. If they put 5 seconds of your video on their thing and then they got copyright striked, then yeah, I'm going to be yeah, that's fucked up. You shouldn't do that.
Well, here's the thing. Number one, I can do whatever's in my legal right to do so. Number two, all she had to do was listen. I don't have anything against her. All she had to do was ask. Now, was she in violation of copyright? YouTube is going to decide that here within the next 3 days or so. As of right now, it is a copyright strike. All she had to do was, she could still send me an email and request this, but listen, something tells me that she's way too prideful to do so. That's not your problem. But just keep in mind, like, you've given me some, listen, I've learned a few things here from you, and like the conversation, parts of our conversations that we've had are very similar to the conversations I've had with Kevin Samuels recently. So I'll definitely take that to heart. But what I will say is this is, especially with women, and listen, you know her better than I do, even though you don't know her. I'm just not the guy who's going to come to the defense of a woman I don't know. If it was an ugly dude, you probably have more in common with that person. Not saying that you're ugly, but that's just not something I would do. I have to go, but I got to tell you, Kevin, you have my respect, man. You're an excellent debater, and you don't back down. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. I can be a very intimidating, presence, but I mean, listen, man, you came here, you stood your ground, you held your own. I thought there was a chance that you were going to be involved with some sort of shenanigans. No, you were straight up, you showed up. I think we had a good debate, and I can put this whole thing on YouTube. And what I'll do is I'll have Heather send you the exact copy. You can post it on your channel. I'll post it on mine, and
appreciate it, man.
We'll shake hands and do a good debate.
Yeah, I mean, no matter. We're all men at the end of the day, and we want to we communicate with logic and reason. And I think I gotta hand it to you too, Donovan. Like, I don't think either of us really interrupted each other that much. I think it was really good. We got our points out there, and I think that's great.
And I will say this: there's definitely a market for not a market, but there definitely needs to be. There needs to be somewhere in our community, not that doesn't give it to them straight, but there has to be a much easier entry point, because I think a lot of guys, when they enter the anger phase, they have just been hit in the face, right? All of these facts and this and that and the other. Not to say that you should sugarcoat anything, but I will concede to you that there definitely need to be content creators that say, okay, look, I know you're pissed off, but let me tell you why you shouldn't be. I'm not that guy. That's really not the way I'm made. So I can certainly understand where you're coming from. With that being said, listen, man, thanks for making time for my audience. Guys, listen, you guys have seen him, man. Kevin Ray Wilder. Subscribe to him on YouTube. Don't troll him. Follow him on Instagram. And listen, man, I'm happy to have you on anytime to talk about this kind of stuff, man.
Yeah, that was a great conversation. I was pleasantly surprised. So
yes,
thanks so much, Donovan.
Not a problem. Kevin Ray Wilder in the building. I appreciate Kevin joining me. Listen. I thought that was a good debate. I thought it was a good debate, man. We didn't see eye to eye, right? There are some fundamental. Okay, and that was the end of the interview. Or that was the end of the debate. Like I said, guys, Kevin and I, listen, man. There's some things that we're never going to see eye to eye on, and that's okay. That is perfectly okay. I'm good with that. But I think that this debate was respectful. We both got our points across. I didn't have to bring out. Hold on. I didn't have to bring out Tevin Manuels. But actually, I do have a bit of breaking news. Guste is going to she's going to debate me this coming Thursday evening at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. Yes, that's right. I just got confirmation from Heather that Guste is going to come on and debate with me at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific on Thursday. I have the same rules for her as I have for Kevin. Don't go over there and troll him. Don't go and harass him. You can voice your opinions if you have strong opinions. That's perfectly fine. But we want to show the world. We want to show everyone, including people we may not disagree with, that hey, listen, we're not the trolling type. I know there's a lot of communities out there that indirectly encourages this kind of stuff, but that's not what I do. So yes. Listen, Guste is going to, she's going to take the plunge. And like I said, there it is. I'm going to put it up here one more time. Guste shot an email. She shot an email to Heather and said, hey, listen, I would appreciate it if Donovan were to lift the copyright strike or the copyright complaint. I'm a man of my word. I said, listen, all she has to do is shoot me an email, and I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. So she respectfully requests that it be taken down. I got to take our. Now I requested this. It usually takes, I don't know, maybe 3 to 5 days for them to take effect. But listen, I'm a man of my word, and if you come at me respectfully, I will respect your wishes. So this coming Thursday, which is today is Thursday or Friday? It's Thursday. So a week from today, I'll be joined by none other than Guste Janis to have a debate or a discussion. So that should be a lot of fun. Thank you guys very much for watching. Again, shout out to Kevin Ray Wilder. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. Follow him on Instagram. Don't harass either one of them. That's not what we do here. Just because we have disagreements with people doesn't mean we go over and troll and harass them. So show them, listen, Kevin, like I said, man, it took a lot of guts. It took a lot of guts to come on and debate with me. We went toe to toe. Neither one of us backed down. And in the end, even though we didn't agree, we didn't really agree on the points, no problem. We're both men. And we had a very good discussion. It was a very good discussion. I was pleasantly surprised. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.